Hello, speaks I to thee. Today's video blog is we should teach by example. I think this is a good idea that people already have a pretty good idea about how we should teach by example, not just preaching and then not practicing what you preach. Being like, fuck you, you need to give more respect, bow down. All of that, yeah, for sure. But what this video is we should literally teach by example in the educational system. Education is going to change our world. This is another video, so I'm not going to get too distracted, but our world is in a transformational time right now, which means that it's ephemeral, the way that the structure is. The structure is set up on an old structure, but we've got the infrastructure of the new structure. So it's in a bizarre time, and I think that's why a lot of people are frustrated and confused. And there's so much people of opposite ideas just sniping each other and calling each other idiots. But the world is going to change, educational system, political system, to be pretty much unrecognizable. Just like the world, the infrastructure now is unrecognizable than it was even just 100 years ago. So the educational system is going to be more like student-based, no structure. Well, the structure will be set out for people from the very beginning. Like by the time you're 20 years old, you will know everything there is to know about everything. You will have an opinion about everything, about all of the political issues and philosophical issues, and it'll be right there bubbled up on the surface of your personal website. And you will be expressing yourself in every single facet in both video format and written format, as well as participated in many different debates and be ranked. You know how they have class ranking in schools? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, they'll be ranking in everything, in every single physical activity, every single subject, and then the overall, based on performance in debates and videos and writings and physical stuff, but based on black and white. Well, also tests, standardized tests. It'll be black and white. It won't be on the whim of a teacher, which is the way it is now, which is kind of like, if your grace, the king, does not smile upon thee, you shall be banished from court type of thing. That's kind of what education is now. So, anyways, so that way, the role of the teacher will be a lot different. The teacher will actually be a teacher, and the teacher won't be a person who basically has to be the person who you have to stay in graces with, or else you get kicked out. Like I got kicked out of school because I fell out of graces, I guess, because I lived in my van and had like long hair, I guess was the reason. Well, the official reason was too ridiculous to be real, so the official reason was that I had the title of one chapter was the wrong title or something, which didn't make any sense. So yeah, so the teacher will be a teacher and will have no say on the grades of the student. The grades of the student will be decided, by peer voting and mainly standardized tests. So the teacher will basically be up there teaching, giving lectures, just like teachers give lectures, but lectures will have a different purpose. It will have a much less important purpose because lectures will be so easily readily available on the computer, on the internet, where you can watch it while you're running on the treadmill, getting exercise and listening to the lecture at the same time, or rowing across the ocean, or running on a bike ride outside. People will also watch lectures in real life, just to be kind of like how people go to concerts in real life. And also to ask questions and be more participatory. But I think the main role of teachers will be to teach by example, and that's what this video is about. Teachers will teach by example. Our educational system, let's get a little bit diverted for a second, will be more holographic, so it will be a microcosm of the macrocosm of the way that society works. So for example, Congress, you get people getting in there and debating to come up with a law and decide. Well, school will be the same way. All the students will get together and debate to come up with, decide what the law should be about the country and the world. Debate the real laws and then come up with an idea. And then they'll decide, oh wow, look, this school is more liberal or more left or more right than the average of America. Interesting. But and also give lectures to each other, giving forth like how PhD students choose a specific thing to study and then they become masters at that particular field of study to increase our society's overall knowledge in that. And if you go to an Ivy League school, you get to even have it published and make money off of it. Well, school students in high school will be doing this, basically be PhD students, and be presenting to each other. So a teacher will basically be another participant in the school. So the teacher will give lectures and will, as well as all the other students. But so the teacher, basically, you look at the teacher as just another student, but just like the head student, the head person taking, so that they can teach by example and people can aspire to be like that teacher. That's what a teacher is, somebody who you aspire to. Like great people who start religions, like Jesus or Muhammad or the Buddha. People always say, oh, Jesus, the Muhammad, the Buddha said. People have a natural tendency to follow that leader. And then they even aspire to be like them. They make portraits of them and they look at the portrait and they see how they're standing and they go, oh yes, I am like him, to help incorporate that energy of that person you aspire to into you. The greatest form of idol worship. Not to allow it to become dogmatic. So teachers will basically, if you say divide the classroom up into two groups, the people who choose to argue against a certain bill that is being passed in Congress, and then the other half, or the other however many there are, to argue for and against it. The teacher will choose whatever side that they believe that they are part of, or the side that they aren't part of, just to show by example how they can argue something, kind of like an actor, pretend they're somebody else, argue against something that they really are for, as long as they let the class know that what their real ideas are. So then you have the teacher and the students, and one of the teams has a teacher in it, and the teacher just basically pretends they're a student, and they get up there and they're part of the student body, and they do it the way, because they're older and more educated, they can obviously do a better job at it. And so they're teaching by example. The teacher gets up there and says, yes, and this is why, and this is why, and that is why, you know, maybe not even be the head of the team, just be one of the team members, but teaching by example. When a teacher teaches a course on how to write, like a paper writing course, they would, and then you say, let's write a paper about this, they would have to provide a paper that they actually wrote. Teachers have never done that in the past. You have a class about, well, actually, I majored in English, but they never actually asked me to write anything. That's why I majored in English. If I had have gone through, choose a major again in school, I would have chosen history. But I chose English because I thought that English, you know, the English language, you would read like Dickinson and Thoreau and all this stuff, and then you'd get to like write something. Silly me. I didn't know that, no, this was just about you sitting in class and watching the dude drone on. And I would never actually be able to use my brain and write anything. But if you do have like a writing class that involves creating something, the teacher creates his own thing. Says, yes, this is my creation. So the teacher participates as a student in the debates on history, politics. If you're here to write a page, you write the page. Even when you take the standardized tests, like the quarter test and the midterm and the final, the teacher takes it too and says, oh, look, this is the grade that I got. Look, I got 100%. Or, you know, if the teacher doesn't get 100%, it's like a 95 that the teacher can be like, oh no, whoops. And it's also a good way to ensure that the teacher is a good teacher. Maybe in the way that it is now, people would hire a teacher and the teacher would get up there and just be like, I read out of the book. But they wouldn't even be able to get a good grade on the test. Maybe, I don't know. But they should have to take the test as well. And that would motivate bad teachers to become good teachers, because they'd have to actually learn the subject if they have to take all of the standardized tests along with the students. PE teachers. PE is going to change a lot. Instead of being kind of directionless, I had PE up until 9th grade, and then 10th it wasn't any more PE. I think I had a weightlifting class, and that was it. But so, say you have like weightlifting class. Well, the teacher isn't just kind of there, because I don't recall the teacher lifting weights, and if they did, they were off by themselves. The teacher at weightlifting class needs to be in there lifting weights with the students and lifting weights to their maximum. And you need to have the markings all over the wall and how many reps and weight everybody can do, and the teacher as well, so you know exactly how strong the teacher is with the students. And then the teacher's like, all right, let's do the CrossFit exercise. That should be one of the things in school. And then the teacher goes up head to head. All right, let's go up against all the students to help motivate the students. The great leader is somebody who motivates the people and shows the people by example how to do stuff. Great leaders from the past, like Julius Caesar, was one of the soldiers. When they would get to camp, Julius Caesar would be running off riding on his own horse, not the chariot behind the horse. If you have to go across the river, he wouldn't be like riding atop the nice raft that they made for him. He'd swim across the river himself. Alexander the Great, when they had the fighting, he would be in the front of the pack fighting as well. He would be they were teaching by example, leading by example. And these are all the great leaders, the people who you remember from history. Genghis Khan, he wasn't standing behind the army calling the shots. He was up there fighting. The leaders who you don't remember are the ones who aren't up there doing the work. Those are the decadent leaders, the ones who end up losing, being the last of the line of the lineage, because their mode of leadership became outdated because they weren't actually leading. Like all of the last monarchs, they were the last monarch and got deposed because they weren't leading. They were just, it was kind of like the teacher just sitting there on the desk reading the newspaper and picking up their paycheck while all the students kind of flounder about and then say, well, fuck that teacher. You know, the Tsar of Russia, Alexander the Eighth or whatever, who was deposed in World War I, he was just the Tsar and calling stupid shots. Let's go attack Japan just because we want that land way the fuck off there, and you know, turn into a disastrous war. And Louis XVI, he and Marie Antoinette were just sitting there enjoying their palaces and not really making any decisions, just kind of delegating the work off to other people, whatever. And then that was that with that. So to keep it a meritocracy, the teachers need to be teaching by example, being in there with the troops as one of the troops. From everything from physical, PE classes, being in there doing the exercises with the students, competing with the students, and with all the other subjects as well, teaching by example, and not having any power, any say over whether or not the student passes. You know, so if the teacher doesn't like you or you don't like the teacher because you have different ideas about everything or you have personality conflicts, teacher can't do anything about it. And then the teacher can maintain stoic and respectful of that other student who may even be antagonizing the teacher. And the teacher doesn't do anything. The teacher says, oh, well, let's just go ahead anyways and continue, do it the best we can. Teaching by example, and then inspiring people to be like them. Not because the way that it is now, teachers, like in my experience teaching, teachers never really did anything. I went to school for education, English education. I got kicked out of the education, but I didn't learn anything there at all. It was just the teacher kind of sitting there, and then a bunch of students would like talk about stuff and give their ideas about teaching, and the teacher would just kind of be sitting there, kind of twiddling their thumbs, Not really, I don't remember. And then they'd be like, one day they'd be like, I guess today's the day that you're supposed to like write this or something. So yeah, participate along with. And I mean, it doesn't have to mean like teachers have to bust their asses all day long, because if they make a teachers, if that's their job, they would have their stuff prepared already, their little paper for the thing, or they know what to say for all the debates and everything. But it would keep them on top of things like politically. If it's a new bill, then of course they would have to study up on it if they're going to debate it. But that's what teachers are. Teachers should be well-rounded people who are always on top. I think the best people in society are the teachers, the most intelligent. So perhaps even the people who make the most money teachers should be paid more than doctors and lawyers and all this stuff, so that it's a competitive job to get, and only the smartest people get it. Yeah, we should all teach by example, but also living in life as well. We should teach by example. Not if you tell somebody that you should do something, well, you should be doing it as well yourself. A lot of people are like, oh, we're using too many resources. Well, let's cut back on the resources. Let's give to charity, and they're like, but they've got like 5 kids and 2 houses and like 3 cars. Give to charity, give to charity. You're bad for not giving to charity, and I give to charity, but they've made like $500,000 a year. You can't tell somebody who makes $30,000 a year to give to charity. They gotta pay for themselves. So, yes, this is the future of education. Teaching by example, literally, being one of the students. Just as Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar were one of the troops.